How are you guys doing? So today we're going to actually have two segments. In this video, it's going to be two different topics or whatnot. They don't really relate to each other as well, but they kind of do, if that makes sense. So we're going to be talking about the homeless, and then we're going to get back to in America, and then we're going to get back to talking about the Texas power grid and all that good stuff, and just new information I found out today. All right. So this whole issue with homelessness in America, it has been around for obviously, every place has homelessness, and it has been around for quite some time. But I don't know. I feel like, it was mainly triggered by the deinstitutionalization. Sorry. I feel like that was one of the main things that really, hit home for it and made it become what it is that it is today. But I have some other little factoids I want to bring in here, and then I do have a little video element about Texas in particular. So let me just get going with it, and then we could get it, get this conversation going. So it was between the years of 1950 and 1970. Jobs became that were like in the manufacturing positions where they were actually, you were getting more money for what it is that you were doing. They transitioned from that and went to like service types of industry positions, like, like the waitresses and stuff like that, which actually resulted in people having a lower wage of income, So that was one of the main issues with that, because now people don't have the money to be able to, they're not making that much money at their position. We got Ronald Reagan as the president, and he, was from 1980s is when he was the president, right? His 40th president, and you look at it and it's like, okay, what has he done? If you look at like even Texas, for example, and I'm sure other states have it, you got the Ronald Reagan Boulevard and, whatever. And it's like, okay, so he must have did some really great things in his presidency. And in particular for the homeless situation, we're going to get into what it is that he does, or did rather. So we're going to first talk about what has happened with the homeless, what could have possibly caused this to be what it is today. I mean, you have the decline of incomes, like I said, with the different kind of jobs from the manufacturing to now service. You have people who are not making that much. Then you have the whole issue of affordable housing. Even looking at it now, as much as people try to make it seem like it is, it's a great market or whatnot. A lot of housing is not that affordable, especially when you look at how much people are making. $7.25 an hour, I believe, is the minimum wage currently, when really, the Progressive Party and all that was trying to make it 15, which still is not much. And even when it would be 15, it's not like it would be like we sign a bill, boom, it's $15 right now. No, it was a gradual increase. So that was still nothing, but it would have been something. You know what I mean? We're dealing with this whole issue of the lack of affordable housing. You got people who are not making that much money to begin with. And then you got housing prices, even when you are renting. A lot of rent is extremely expensive and you don't get much for it. You had the issue with the welfare program cutting. Then you have another issue completely of itself, the introduction of drugs. And that's also something that's just, as we've seen it, it affects many communities. It definitely affected the crack cocaine in the Black community. I mean, there's just so many negative things that you see with that. And, then you have we're getting tough on drugs, war on drugs and all of that. But we're going to stick to the homelessness situation now, with the deinstitutionalization. So that's essentially what it was. It was, you had these asylums, they began to empty them, and they said that they'll get treated at like a mental health kind of place, like a community mental health place. Like that was the goal, right? The goal was to get the people out of the asylum so that we don't have to pay for them anymore, right? And then we'll get them treatment over here, right? But it's like, okay, we're getting them treatment over here. Are you actually doing that though? And the answer is no, that did not happen. So what essentially happened was you took people out of here and people were getting treated for, their mental health, and everything like that up in the asylums. And then once you put them out on the street, they were on the street. I mean, it was as simple as that. It's not like you gave them like you said, oh, we'll put you in a mental health thing. It's not like you actually put them somewhere else or you did this to them. You're like, okay, well, we're going to close this down. And, that's about it. Deuces. And I mean, that's what they did. But you had that. You had a labor union weakening. I mean, it's so many things. So you have the mental health aspect, you have the drug aspect, you have just the fact that you're not even paying people that much money to begin with to do certain services, but then you raise the prices of everything else up and you skyrocket these prices so that people can't afford it. There was actually it was like this news article, like probably like the local news or something like that. And it was a California one, I believe. I want to say it was Los Angeles that it was for too. And you had it was like this strip of people, you had some people that were like living in their cars or whatnot. When I say cars, I mean like some were cars, some were like vans and whatnot. And you just had some people that were just straight up on the street. So it was like, okay, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, what's, the initial thought is like, okay, well, that just means that the person, and this is what a lot of people think, this is why you're homeless, right? Oh, well, the person is lazy. Oh, the person just don't want to work. Oh, well, they just want to save money, right? But like there was this lady who was actually, she was like, yo, I believe she was some kind of, she had like a master's degree or a doctorate degree or something like that. But the education was so expensive. Education so expensive. And then you have the addition of the housing pricing, your wages not being all the way up there, where it should be, making a decent 25 really should be the minimum in all honesty. You're not paying people that much. And she was like, yeah, I have a master's degree and I'm homeless. So could you say that, oh, well, she's just lazy? No, she's a smart person, but because people are not taking care, the government is not taking care of their people. This is your end result. This is what's happening at the end of the day. You have people who, they're just low income. They have high debt. You even have veterans. And another thing about that is, you have people who think, oh, you got veterans hospital, you got this. Then why are there so many veterans on the street? If you really look, there are quite a bit. I remember I used to see, it was like this strip or whatnot on like this main street I used to live by. And it was just so many homeless people. And a lot of them were veterans. So what does that say? Could you say that they're lazy and they don't want to work? They're injured and the government's not taking care of them. That's what that is. I mean, this is something that I don't get because, it's just, how could you, and this is what I don't get about people in a position of power. How could you have all this power and then you're just like, well, I can't do anything about it. I don't get how people could really do that. Because like, for example, Even now, you have Kamala Harris as the vice president. And she's like, in regards to like border control and whatnot. Well, sorry, that's, she always does this like crazy laughing. I'm like, yo, like, what are you doing? This is a serious topic and you're laughing. Oh, but she was like, oh, I mean, that's not my job. Well, whose job is it? What the heck? You got the president, and they make it seem like you can't do anything. Like there's no executive order. I'm just another civilian. No, you're the president. What are you even talking about? You're the president. Why you make it seem like you can't do anything? That's what I don't understand. They make it seem like they have no power. Then you have people who are in like the progressive party, and then they're like, oh, well, I don't know what we can do. Can you guys help? Can you guys force other people? So you want us to do your job while you're getting paid very well, 6 figures. You got health insurance, you got all, dental, everything, vision insurance, every kind of every kind of insurance that you can think of. You have all this stuff. And then you ask me to do your job for you. Well, why are you here? Why elect people? And this is another thing. Why elect people who do not have the public's best interest in mind? Think about it. Well, we got to vote blue no matter who, right? But they don't care about you. You've seen that. You know that. I mean, this is not something that is that's uncommon. It's not something that's just not known. You know that these people don't care about you because of the way that they're acting. I mean, you have this whole thing of, we've been talking about affordable housing for a while. I mean, you have these companies who are trying to buy up all these single family homes, and they're trying to turn them into, what is it? Single family renting institution or something like that. Single family renting, where you'll never be able to own anything, like own a home, unless you are one of those people who have money like that. And it's just everything. It's the policies, it's the people. And it's like, if you guys actually gave, a F, then we wouldn't have as much of the problems that we have today, right? But, I'm like, okay, we got all these things that's happening. We know what really started a lot of it. Well, what can be done? I want you to take a moment and think what could really be done and what has been done, right? So you have a lot of programs, non-for-profit and whatnot, that are, they're doing like, they have little programs, whatnot. They have the little charities, non-profit, whatever. And, they're donating clothes, they're donating this, they're donating that, which is great. I'm actually trying to be a part of that as well. I have a business called Latrice Limited. And, I sell like, candles, beauty and health, beauty and wellness products, essentially. So I have like a sister company, I guess you could say, where it's called Latrice Unlimited. So Latrice Unlimited is, just the philanthropy portion of it, where a percentage of the proceeds from Latrice Limited will go to Latrice Unlimited, and it'll actually be for the homelessness in Austin, Texas. So it's just to, it's like little care packages and whatnot that I'll do. Once I get up to a certain number, then I'll make X amount of care packages, whatever. And these are all great. Okay, obviously I'm doing it too. But these are all great. But these are just a Band-Aid, a small Band-Aid on a giant cut. Okay, so it's not like, it's helpful. Yes, we need soap, we need towels, they need a tissue, paper towel, not paper towels, but you know what I mean, like toothpaste, toothbrushes, all that. Great. They need the essentials, they need water, they need food. Got food banks, great. But what else are you going to do? We need housing. People can't just be living on the street. They can't literally on the street. We can't have that happening. So people need housing. They need institutions where they can get services for their mental health. Well, my job provides mental health. Well, if they don't have a job, well, how are they going to get it? That doesn't work that way. That's why you shouldn't have anything tied to your employer. It just shouldn't be like that. But, so you have this whole idea of, we need the affordable housing. We need housing, period, for them. You have, and I actually know there's this guy up in Texas, I think in Austin too, who he's making like 3D homes and whatnot, like concrete or whatever, which is great. But you need housing. You need to increase the minimum wage. You need to strengthen unions. And I don't want to get into that right now. But you want to strengthen unions. You want to make it so that, you have services that are free to the public for mental health, because a lot of that as well is why people are doing what they're doing. You need to have a, reform or some kind of thing for drugs that are coming in and how to deal with them. What is the solution for that? But moving on, we actually have a, guess you can call it a solution in Austin. So in Austin, you have, well, not just in Austin, but like in a lot of different cities across the U.S. I mean, you obviously, like I said, have homeless people living on the street. So you have a lot of these encampment areas where it's just a whole bunch of just like tents and, shopping carts and all that. And they're just like in these large areas. Okay. I'm actually tell you a story for when I went. It was actually, I want to say about 2 months ago when I went to downtown Austin. So when I went to downtown Austin, I just went down there for like a little mini vacation, get away and, just feel a little normal. So I went downtown, and I was like, I gotta go to, I think I had to go to Target or something. Because my boyfriend, he went to the gym, whatever. I just came back from the gym. I'm like, I'm not going back to the gym. And I was like, he said he needs to go to Target. So I was like, you know what, let me go and, put in a GPS where things are. Because I don't know if you've been down there, but pretty much everything is pretty close. For the most part, things are like in walking distance, close. So I was like, okay. And they were like, oh, well, from where you are right now, it's only a 9-minute walk. And I was like, oh, it's only 9 minutes? Oh, okay, well, I'm already dressed. Let me just go in, put my shoes on and let's go, right? So I go outside or whatnot, following GPS, and some of the areas, never gonna lie, man, I was walking and I'm like, wow, this area is, it looks it's sketchy, It didn't look like the lawns were cut. You had like graffiti on the wall, and I'm like, wow, okay. Let's just keep going. Let's keep going. So I'm walking and whatnot, and then the GPS says like it's like this like the viaduct. It's not a bridge, but it's like a viaduct kind of thing, where like how you have like the main just road. And then you got one that goes up and, all that stuff. But then you have like that little under area, which I believe is called viaduct. But then you have that area. And then they were like, oh, you got to pass it. Like, you got to go through it. And I was like, oh, I don't mind going through a main intersection. Not that bad. But I was like, go through it. And I'm looking. I'm like, where am I going through? I'm like, I don't see anything. And I was like, from what I see over there, that doesn't look like Alex is going through that. So I was like, okay, well, let me make a left. And I was like, I could just go down further or whatever. Because how it was, you couldn't make a right. If you went a right, you would have been walking for about 10 more minutes because there's no way for you to get across. You know what I mean? If you could even get across. So I was like, okay, let me go make a left. Let me go do my walking over here. And then I'll go at the next time that they say to make a turn, right? So, so I go make the left. And then I see it was like a huge, just homeless encampment area. Like it was, if I had to count how many tents there were, it was at least 30 to 35, at least. Like, and it was packed. That entire zone was packed. And then you had, people over there and, some, they're how they were standing. Some didn't look like they were actually like living there. I don't know. It didn't look safe. Let me just say that. So I'm like, they're not. I was like, oh, the GPS telling me. I was like, oh, no. Maybe I'm tripping, right? And then I asked GPS. The GPS like, no, you have to go past this. And I'm like, what? Because apparently you have to go past it, and then you walk for like 2 minutes and Target's right there. And I'm like, yo, I'm not doing that, right? I was like, I'm not doing that. I don't feel safe doing that. Because anything could happen, you know what I mean? You got a whole bunch of people there. Like I said, everything that the stigma that you have. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. So now I was like, I'm going to just go to, it was this museum that I just decided to go to. But it really makes you nervous. You know what I mean? Made me nervous. And one, I also don't like going places by myself, really, unless it's like to the grocery store or something. That I don't mind. But other places I kind of mind because you just don't know. Now there's a whole bunch of robberies that are happening where people are carjacking, you obviously have like the rape and the assault that happens. And I was like, I can't do that, right? And I remember another story was actually, so I watched these people on YouTube called Double Toasted. Really fun. I highly recommend that you watch them. So I'm watching them or whatnot, and they're actually telling me, well, not telling me, but, they're telling us a story about when they went downtown Austin and whatnot. And, there were, homeless people, whatnot, and everything. So they were over here saying that, they went downtown and, there was, I believe in California, they call it brown spots, where it's literal just, it's shit. It's just human feces just there on the ground. You know what I mean? And like you have, it's just human shit, literally. And like you could step in it. And that goes with the disease and the uncleanliness of that. And that's also why homelessness, there needs to be something done to help end it, because you have just the unsanitary manners of it, because that's gross. Human shit is, it's human shit. Let's be real. One of them was saying, the wife was over here saying how the dog like stepped in it. And it was just like, so, you have that, and Austin gets hot. Texas is a hot state for most of the year. So imagine the scent of it. And you have some people who were even, very just mentally ill. Like you could tell that they were saying that, you had people talking to themselves. And in my experience that I had, that even happened. That too happened. Where I was coming back. I was actually coming back from the museum. And there was, on one side, it was like these guys, and I knew I had to pass by them, it was some guys that were like on this side. And so I'm on this sidewalk, and there's another sidewalk, and I'm going this way, and my hotel is all the way over here. So I had to go over here. So I'm like, I'm not about to cross right here. One, because it wasn't an intersection, at all. I would have been doing jaywalking. I don't like doing that. So I was like, okay, so I'm not going to do that for that reason. And two, there's some sketchy looking people over here. Like, I don't know if they were homeless or not. They didn't look like it, but they just didn't look on the up and up, in my opinion. I'm not even going to lie. They just didn't look on the up and up. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go and cross this way. I was like, okay, I'm going to go straight. And then once I get to the intersection, then I'm going to make a right, then go straight, make a right. Okay. So, and because if I would have went straight all the way down, then it would have been, then I would have had to have an encounter with some other sketchy looking individual. And mind you, this is on, I believe I was on 6th Street. So if y'all know anything about 6th Street, y'all know. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to go over there. I'm going to just go over here. So my goal is come out, go straight, right, and, just cross the street and make a right. So I could avoid all of this. So right when I'm about to get to the little intersection, there's this guy that's like, hey, yo, miss. And he literally says it like, I think he said, hey, yo, miss, like, or hey, miss, whatever, like 5 or 6 times. And I was like, because one thing about me, I don't like people bothering me when I'm doing anything. If I'm doing something, I don't really like being bothered. So I was like, hey, yo, miss. And I like slightly looked over, but hoping the light was just gonna hurry up and turn green. And then it turned green, and then I like slightly looked over, and then it's like, hey, yo, well, can I get some? I was like, I don't have any. And then it was like, he was like wanting to follow me as I crossed the street. I think he actually did follow me because I had to go cross here, and then I had to go straight, and then so I could make my other turn. So I had to do 2 crosses. And then he was like there, and then the light turned green. I was like, yes, I didn't run or anything, but, I sped walk, but I'm like, bruh, like, I don't like people bothering me, and this guy, he actually was homeless. And I was like, I just, it's the stigma that you have, but it's also like, we need to help these people out. We need to help them so that they're not on the street. 1, harassing people, and 2, so they could just, live a better, productive life, So that was my whole little shebang or whatever about my experience with them down in Austin. And I'm actually going to show you guys a video about, it's going to be the homelessness, the encampments in Austin. So I have this video. I'm gonna go enlarge it real quick, make sure the sound's up. Yeah, so just listen to it. It's only like it's 1:48, so you're good.
Starting today, the camping ban laws are stricter.
The phase 2 of the city's plan now takes effect.
KB's Marty Salazar joins us live from downtown with the story. Marty, what's next in the phased approach?
So Jenny, Jake, now police officers can walk up to people camping in some areas. They can give them a written warning, and they can also give them a ticket. So for the last month, they've been educating people about the new laws. That was phase 1, which are you can't camp, sit, or lie down in downtown or the University of Texas campus areas. And you can't solicit at specific hours and locations. As far as these tickets go, if someone violated these camping laws, they can get a citation up to $500. If that person is unable to pay the fine, the Austin Municipal Court judges will try to find alternatives to the fine, such as community service work. We spoke with Save Austin Now, who started a campaign to pass Prop B. As phase 2 takes effect, they say they're frustrated the city hasn't come up with a solution yet.
I think it's time for the city council to actually have the backbone and say, okay, we made a decision. These will be the locations for the campgrounds, or we will erect a temporary shelter like we've done for hurricane victims. Because I do believe we're at that point where we have a humanitarian crisis.
Save Austin Now says they're even more concerned now since it's getting hot outside, possibly putting lives in danger if people are living on the streets with nowhere to go. The next phase does start in July, and that means that officers can start to arrest people if they are camping in areas and refuse to leave. Jenny, Jake, back to you.
All right. The camping.
All right, so I'm actually going to speed it up in certain areas, but there's that, and I'm gonna speed it up in certain areas, and I'm gonna give my commentary for that. I just didn't want to have to keep stopping the video, and then you're getting some, butchered stuff.
Sarah Jones is live from downtown with the story. Marty, what's next in the phased approach?
So Jenny, Jake, now police officers can walk up to people camping in some areas. They can give them a written warning, and they can also give them a ticket. So,
all right. So right now, what you're having, and this is the news for Austin. So what you're having is you're having police officers be able to come up to you. You're homeless. More likely, you don't have a job. Okay, you may, but you may not. Okay, so you're homeless. Let's say you don't have a job, which most of them don't, and besides panhandling or something, and you're saying that I can just, me as a cop, can come to you, give you a piece of paper and say, here's your first warning. If you mess up again, I'm gonna fine you. So it's like, okay, you give me a warning for not being here. Then you say you are going to fine me, but one isn't adding up with the other. How am I going to pay for it? What are you going to do? How many tickets does it take before you're just like, yeah, so now we're going to arrest you. You know what I mean? They can't afford it. So you're going to find someone who cannot afford to even pay the fine. That doesn't make any sense.
for the last month, they've been educating people about the new laws. That was phase 1.
Oh, yeah. So that's also something I wanted to mention. So this is phase 2 in Austin's homeless camping ban. But in phase 1, so they had different areas that they were targeting. So it's not like necessarily, oh, I don't like this person, I'm going to target their area. No, it was certain areas in Austin, downtown, that's where you have the University of Texas at Austin as well. And, they want the students to also not have to deal with that. But because I know with my school on the campus, I did not see any at all, like any homeless people at all. Like they cut that out. There were some on the outskirts, but I didn't see any like actually on the campus. But I personally didn't see any. They may have been, but I didn't see any. But yeah, so the main thing is like in phase 1, what they were doing certain areas. So maybe one area was untouched for that portion of time, but the other area was. So when I say the other area was touched, you had, I was watching this video where the police officers, they were literally like with couches. They had like this truck that it wasn't just like a garbage truck, but this thing was like breaking down whatever it was, like the tents and whatnot, the couches. It was like literally destroying them as it was going in, whatever that thing is called. But yeah, so like they were legit like, yo, you knew this was coming, and they just took all their stuff. So that was phase 1, and this is phase 2.
Which are you can't camp, sit, or lie down in downtown.
And as you see, she said you can't camp, sit, or lie down in downtown. As you see right here is just 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 just right here. You have people who are laying down. You have people who are camping. What are you gonna do? You're gonna issue them a citation and say, "Oh, well, you're not supposed to be camping here." What are you gonna be doing? There's only so much you can do. Without giving them housing. Giving them housing and giving them services so that they would not be doing this. Do you honestly think most people want to be doing this? Oh, man.
or the University of Texas.
Even right here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think 11 there. Wow. This is a lot. From what I was seeing, I'm not seeing the exact picture. Like I said, it was like a little viaduct and whatnot. And it was like that, but it was worse. It was just like all just packed and jam-packed in that area, because that area is where a lot of that shade is. I mean, it's right under one of the roads, so it's a lot of shade in that area.
Campus areas, and you can solicit at specific hours and locations. As far as these tickets go, if someone violated these camping laws, they can get a citation up to $500.
Hey, you violated. We're gonna issue a citation up to $500. Okay, if I have $500, you think I would be, sitting here? If I have $500 every month, let's just say, you think I would be sitting here? Really? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you can afford, because you can't afford a house, you can't afford even rent with that. But you would be going somewhere else. You know what I mean? If you were able to have that and try to save that up as much as possible.
If that person is unable to pay the fine, the Austin Municipal Court judges will try to find alternatives to the fine, such as community service work. We spoke with Save Austin now.
Well, why don't you just have them do that? Period. Provide them with housing, since you're saying, if you can't afford that, which most people can't, provide them with housing, and then you have them work. Community service will have them work and provide them with housing. Even if it's some kind of shelter area where, I don't know, if there's 30 beds or something, why don't you just do that? I mean, let's skip the middleman. Let's just hop to what it is.
Who started a campaign to pass Prop B. As Phase 2 takes effect, they say they're frustrated the city hasn't come up with a solution yet.
I think it's time for the city council to actually have the backbone and say, okay, we made a decision. These will be the locations for the campgrounds, or we will erect a temporary shelter like we've done for hurricane victims. Because I do believe we're at that point where we have a humanitarian crisis.
Save Austin now says they're even more concerned now since it's getting hot outside, possibly putting lives in danger if people are living on the streets with nowhere to go. The next phase does start in July, and that means that officers can start to arrest people if they are camping in areas and refuse to leave. Jenny, Jake, back to you.
And then now you have this idea of people are now going to be arrested for doing that, when you could give them housing, maybe if it's a certain area of campground or whatever, but in a facility would be hopeful, would be the hopeful option. You do that, and then you said, oh, I'll have them work, do community service. Well, have them do that. Now you're getting free labor, because that's what that is. You get free labor, and they're now getting housing for it. It could be an exchange, something like that. One thing. Or you could even pay them to do community service. How about some of that? How about even if you pay them, even if it's just the $725, which in all honesty, it should be way higher than that. But let's just say it's a $725. You pay them that, at least they'll have something, It means at least they'll be making something. That's the main thing with that. I just don't, that's where I'm at with that. The next thing I have, and let me know what you guys think, what your opinion on it. What is a solution you guys would possibly have? Another thing I don't get is this. You have, this large homeless situation that's been happening for years. Okay. It's not like it's something new, not something that just popped up in 20 years. It's been happening for years. It has been here for years. Okay. So you have that. And then it's like, okay, well, what could be done? We don't have any money to do this. We can't do this. We don't know what to do. Oh my God. And it's like, well, didn't Biden just get however many $1 billion for military stuff? And he can't just put a little bit over here and end homelessness? We can't do that. We got to keep having war And wasn't it just $1 billion, or was it, I want to say it was $1 billion that Biden just gave to Israel for, to bomb, you know. I believe that just happened like yesterday. Yesterday it was on my feed anyways. And he just gave money so that they can have more weapons and bomb people. But we don't have enough money we don't have $1 billion to even help homeless people. Come on. And that's the thing about this country. It's so backwards. It's just completely backwards with literally everything. It's just 100% backwards, man. And I mean, that's just really the main problem with it.